How did we get here? Now, how would children in the first place, because certain things can appear quite ludicrous, when you think that children in our country can now take up arms to make our president to be afraid, to now, and then in certain places, particularly in northern Nigeria, specifically in Kano, Kaduna, and all that, and then you ship them to Abuja, even though the Administration of Criminal Justice House, for exceptional reasons, would allow you for security reasons to do such a thing. We treat our own citizens as if they are enemies, whereas prisoners of war cannot be treated worse than the way the conditions and the visuals and pictures we've seen concerning those children. So you asked me a personal question, and I'll tell you that we have a problem in this country, and the problem is that persons in public service appear to glorify the fact that we are a third world country, and they enjoy keeping us in that third world state. Because whereas we have every opportunity to treat ourselves right, we take delight in that. So what we have seen in course of this trial today, by reason of some persons who are trying to be politically correct, whether it is the court or the prosecutor, you see, it's a problem. I'm amazed and shocked to realize that even the judge could not. There is no political correctness here. This is our country. This is the soul of our country on trial here. The judge should be able to look at those children and say, there is a problem. Prosecutor, are you telling me that these children are fit for trial? I mean, he should have convinced himself that first they were fit for trial before the trial could go on. And when there were some of them that were clearly children and some of them were fainting and at the point of dying, the judge had the inherent powers to direct that, please, trial is not going on. I hereby order that medical treatment, medical facilities, and adequate provision according to the provisions of the Constitution be given to them immediately. He directs it. But there is this problem with us, as if there is this competition for us to please somebody against the simple provisions of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, of the provisions of the Child Rights Act. So this is an opportunity for us to put ourselves on trial, and whether we want to continue to treat ourselves as the enemies, as our own enemies, as we have said today in that trial.
Frank Cheche, one might be tempted to say maybe Nigeria really has come full circle. Where will salvation come from if we show to the world that we can do this with minors? What happens to the principle of doli in capax? How does it apply here?
The problem is this. First and foremost, being a child is a matter of fact. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Right.
Whereas I understand you can say that the matter is sub to this. Yes, we are not parties to the matter. We are not precluded from making comments as to what is obvious. And the fact is that what we've seen there is horrendous. As a matter of fact, when you consider that these children have been in detention, according to the report, for 90 days, that is horrendous. Nothing could be more terrible than the way we treat children. Now, when you ask the question that where is hope coming from, it's simple. Look, I started the first case that brought the application of the Child Rights Act in this country, Frank Tete versus Attorney General of the Federation. I went a whole lot to ensure that in every matter that concerns any child below 18, apply the principles under the Child Rights Act. For goodness sake, even the Administration of Criminal Justice Act sections 371. Once it concerns a child, apply the Child Rights Act. So why are we acting like this?
What does the Child Rights Act say specifically in this situation?
The point is that when it comes to detention of children, there must be specific provision for child centers, for you to detain these children in child centers. In fact, particularly section 250 of the Child Rights Act provides that you can actually detain them while they can still go to school. So we see this kind of treating our children as if they are enemies. We not only prevent them from going to school, we detain them even though they are a victim of one form of a society that is venal. It's a society, there's some form of indoctrination, and our country doesn't think of saving these children, but actually destroying these children.
I'll have to calm you down, really, because this really can provoke all kinds of emotions, and one can only try to hold things back here so that we can make sense, and hopefully those in authority who make decisions will know the right thing to do.
So for these children, clearly looking at them, you can see that they've been, starved, they're malnourished,
ill-treated in detention.
It's surprising that the police spokesman doesn't even see that at the moment. So how can human rights activists jump into this and bring the legal perspective and protect the rights of people in custody at the moment, as we've seen with those children?
See, there is a National Human Rights Commission that doesn't need any form of activation in this case to take action. As we speak, the National Human Rights Commission is a custodian, is a repository of human rights standards in this country, a representative of the a representation of the United Nations human rights standards. So we expect it to act. That's one. The police officer in that report was saying that they have not acted illegally. But of course, they have acted inhumanely. Because in this country, you cannot subject anybody to such inhumane and degrading treatment as we've seen those children being subjected to. Did we not see them? Did the judge not see them? The judge is a human being, not an artificial intelligence. Did you not see them? And then, are we telling ourselves that those are is that the best Nigeria could do at 21 years after it has adopted the Child Rights Act? For goodness sake, 21 years after it has adopted the Child Rights Act, with over 24 states domesticating the act, domesticating the United Nations Child Convention. We don't have adequate facilities to take care of our children that they could stay in detention for 90 days. For goodness sake, are we criminals as a country? Let's understand that. I cannot emphasize that enough. You're telling me what way out of this? Why are you passing the buck to human rights organization? Look, we've long quit that idea of forming NGOs for the idea of receiving donor funds and doing nothing but speaking grammar. So, but do we have to wait for the United Nations? Do we have to wait for one donor from the United States to give us money before we start doing advocating for what is right? Look, what is expected is that government, you have signed treaties to take care of your own people. The United Nations is asking you maintain standards that you have signed to and obligated to do, and you violate them as if you take delight in that.
Now, add to that the fact that these children, 76 of the detained, they've been slammed a 760 million naira bail. That's on the one hand. And look, can there be a knowledge prosecute here? Shouldn't that be?
Look, the embarrassment is just too much for us as individuals, as lawyers, as persons who have gone to the United Nations. I've represented this country in a delegation to go and defend some kind of human rights report and making promises that we never kept. Nothing could be more embarrassing at this time. Look, our country should work towards uniting itself. We can't be fighting against ourselves. We can't be taking delight in, using some persons as example, as scapegoats, whereas we're leaving the more important issues. Yeah. So you ask me whether your Attorney General, I heard my friend, Adeyaju, asking the Attorney General to exercise his powers. The Attorney General must know that there are provisions of the law, that that power is not discretionary, that there are times that the court must compel it to exercise that section 174 and enter a nolle in this case. Because our country, look, you can't kill people just because you want to try them. And what are we talking about? Children that were protesting against hunger, and then you want to kill them with hunger, effectively under detention, and then you give that kind of very strange and unrealistic bail condition. Yeah. What are we trying to do? Who are we trying to please? Who are we fighting against? Who is instructing us to do this? We are a country, for goodness sake, a sovereign country. We shouldn't be acting as if we don't have a future.